Hi, I hope you enjoyed the TED Talk on the myth of average. It's one of my favorites. I mean, it's amazing when you think about it that was done in post World War II, and I hope you had some good brain pain, if you will, in thinking about my coach's philosophy and in terms of the myth of average. Looking forward to reading the discussion board group, and I will interact with that as things come up there. Okay, what we want to delve into now are some of the specific types of the four main leadership styles that Hershey and Blanchard have put out. So, first of all, overall, we want to think about how do we maximize going to the edges in choosing leadership. That's something I want you to keep in mind. And the other thing I want you to remember is that really, when we're talking about situational leadership, we're talking about collaboration. Okay. And I know it's a new buzzword. I know that everybody's out there. Harvard Business School is saying it's a skill everybody needs. Everybody wants to collaborate, sing kumbaya, all three verses. And it's a pretty simple idea. But the question I have is, does anybody really know the words? Well, seriously, when we talk about collaboration, um, the idea that we all share ideas and we sort of group think and the philosophy behind it, which I don't disagree with, is that the collective minds of a group in front of us are far more powerful and far more creative, if allowed to be, than a singular person going after something. So the first one we look at, or the first quadrant, if you will, and you're looking at the Hershey Blanchard model, you're looking at the lower right. This is the director, okay? In the director, they're the person, the leader is going to be telling, if you will. And that's another term you'll see besides directing, is telling. The leader here provides specifics of the who, what, where, when, and how. They defines the actions that are to be taken. They're the ones that probably do most of the conversation. And it's mostly one-way communication. They make decisions. They closely supervise and ask clarity questions. Do you have any questions about what we're about ready to do? Do you have any questions about what is expected of you? Those sort of things. When we look at schools, we're thinking about situations such as mentoring groups, where you pair a veteran faculty or staff member with a new employee. Um, what I used to do, and that was really successful, is that as a principal, I would meet with my new faculty and staff separately, but I would meet with them bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks, I'd bring in coffee and chocolate donuts, kind of famous for the Entenmann's chocolate donuts. Bring them in and talk about where we are in the school year, and specifically what tasks lay ahead of them that they have to do. Okay, um, you're basically looking here and saying, all right, these individuals are really enthusiastic, they're brand new, but they really need a lot of help because they haven't been through it before. So coaching pairing, principal new person meetings, or somebody else in your leadership team, mentoring groups. Okay, in New York State, you know that it's a rule, the law and regulation that all new faculty and staff members must be mentored through at least their first 2 years. The next coaching style, the next coaching style. I'm sorry. The next leadership style is coaching. Okay. Sometimes you see this labeled as selling. Okay. This is the classical thing where the leader is providing specifics of who, what, where, how, and why. They're explaining decisions and they allow opportunities for the individuals to seek clarification. Okay. So unless it, in in directing, the leader is asking the clarity questions. Here the individual is the one that is given opportunities and encouraged to ask clarifications. There's encouragement of more of a two-way communication in the coaching, and they make decisions. The leader makes the decision and explains the individual's role that they're to perform. They also, the leader, it's important for the leader to reinforce and recognize incremental improvement upon the people that they're working with. Um, in this situation, typical school things, think about when a leader is trying to start a new initiative whether it's curricular, scheduling, or policy. Okay, you have your group there, and you're trying to basically sell them on this new thing that you have to do. It may be something like bringing in a new LMS system, okay, or a new modified approach to something, whether it's technology or curricular or what have you. This is where the selling is. You're taking them from where they are, and you want to bring them to a new place in that. Okay. The next major leadership thing is what we call participating or supporting. This is where you have a pretty able group, and the leader is part of the group. Okay. The leader is part of this committee or group that they're in, and a very active member. The leader here is the one that's encouraging the input, actively listening to the colleagues around them. Um, they're supporting the other team members in taking risks. They're recognizing individual talents and skills that they're bringing to the forefront here, and they're absolutely, for lack of a better term, they're a cheerleader, or they're praising individual effort here. Typical school situations you're seeing here, a lot of advisory team. A lot of you CTE administrators out there have advisory teams that are set up specifically for each of your curricular areas, whether we're talking about culinary, cosmetology, farming equipment, heavy equipment, what have you, or engineering. These are advisory teams. These are typical areas where you see the work-based learning coordinator deeply involved with this, with the teachers and everybody else that's in play here. You'll see it in professional development or professional learning communities and planning committees, okay, where you're sitting down as a leader with everybody there, your representative group, and you're trying to map out what is going to be the next thing that we're doing professionally. It may be with a child study team or RTI team. Okay, both CTE situations and general ed situations have to adhere to those things. The response to intervention, those types of things, very typical for participating. Very typical. Um, the last major area of leadership style is what we call delegating. Okay, this is where the leader basically turns over control. The leader's role here is to provide the big picture. Okay, the big picture of what there is to be done, and what and where we need to be, whatever that might be defined as. They allow the individuals within the group to make task related decisions. They're the ones in control of the process and the implementation of it. Uh, the leader monitors activities, reinforces results, always remaining accessible, and consistently asks the important question: what else do you need from me? How else can I help you? Typical situations, you see this in schools. It's when teams are operating established programming. This might be the professional learning communities that are pre-established, and they're enacting their developing programs that they have. It might be the work-based learning advisory teams. Where they're told, here's what we're trying to do as an organization, this BOCES or CTE group, and this advisory team basically gets into the weeds of it, and absolutely does it. Okay. And finally, here's sort of a summary of what we've looked at so far. The directing, you're helping those people gain confidence. As a coach, you're re-energizing, you're reteaching. That's the new initiative group. You're trying to bring those people along. The supporting group, that's when they're really showing a lot of talent here. You're building their confidence and their competence in what they're doing, and you're bringing them along. And then finally, your superstars. You're valuing their contributions, and essentially, you're getting out of their way. Okay, you become their support personnel in that scenario. So when we look at choosing um, a style, we got to think about what are the variables or factors that go into having the right leadership style for the task that we're trying to do. I mean, certainly we can begin to see that there are a lot of questions that we have to answer. The questions about abilities, questions about competence, questions about motivation, questions about the task itself. And these answers will vary with sometimes the same groups depending on the task or what the ability is. Okay, so we have to think through that. And finally, what we want you to do to close out this module, these are a simple set of activities here I want you to do. I want you to sort of get the feel and idea for the flexibility of leadership styles and what things might cause it. And then I have an action plan there. So it's a little sort of, you know, do homework, if you will. And based on your experiences with it, I'd like you to come back to the discussion board. And again, I will be checking in on the discussion board and being involved with it. It's one of my favorite things to do with these courses. So I want you to reflect on some of the experiences you're having with it. Thank you, and we'll see you for Module 3.